Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Detroit Tigers franchise mode here in MLB The Show 21. So last episode we started up the season simulation, and we also took a look at the draft class just to see how it was. And yeah, so far we are not doing too good, 14 and 32, which is to be expected as we are rebuilding probably for the next like 5 or so years just to get some good prospects into our system, and eventually we'll get that superstar of a player in the draft that could help us out. And I'm hoping that this year's draft could actually be that draft, as the projected blue chips, I was looking at them off video, and I was basically looking at what their average like overall potential could be in the current situation on that part, like on the blue part, not the green part. And it turns out that basically the guy that I was looking at, that I was suggesting we should get in last episode, he might actually have like a 57 average between his attributes, which means he's probably, if this is actually a good way of doing it, he's almost close to being an above average player, so he might be one of the top players in the draft. But I think the top player in the draft is actually a closing pitcher by the name of Daniel Batista, but I don't think I'm going to draft him because drafting a closing pitcher is a little bit I already have one in Diego Corona in AAA, or I think I demoted him to AA maybe, but anyways, he looks pretty good, but he's not really what we need. If we go back here, you can see what we need is a left fielder, which that's what Gary Hara is. We also could use shortstops, second baseman, right fielders, starting pitchers, catchers, and then also some relievers. And we could use a closing pitcher, but Crone is already good enough for the future. And then we don't really need third baseman, first baseman, and center field as much, but we could use them if we need to. So we're going to go into this draft, and hopefully we could get some good prospects. And I'm really hoping that Gary Hara guy is really good, because based on at least my thoughts, Gary Hara looks like he could end up being like kind of like Ichiro to an extent, because he's got really good potential for contact. He already has average contact. His power is a little bit below average, but he could get to above average, which is pretty good. And then if you could see, his vision and his discipline are also pretty decent for the future wise. And in his fielding, his arm is really good, his accuracy is good, his reaction's good, his speed's good, and his stealing's good. So he's going to be a very fast player on base, and then also he's going to have a cannon of an arm, which could help us out a lot in terms of defensive play. So yeah, I'm very excited to get this guy if we do have first overall, which I'm pretty sure we do. I hope he doesn't go if we don't have first overall, but I'm pretty sure we do, because we had like 100 plus losses last season, and we're on pace to pretty much do the exact same things. So let's get into this draft and see what we could grab, and hopefully it is a pretty good draft for us, because we need those good prospects. Let's just auto fix that, and there we go. Let's get into this draft. We don't have number 1 actually. Oh, I thought we'd have number 1, but Pittsburgh fell below us, which I'm kind of surprised about. Even though they are a bad team, I didn't expect him to finish below us. So we got number 2. So hopefully Gary Hara does not go to Pittsburgh, and hopefully Pittsburgh takes that closer I was mentioning, because if they take Hara, I'm going to be a little pissed, because I really want that Hara dude, and I can't trade for picks obviously. So, and they take Rob Baxter, so they take a starting pitcher in Rob Baxter. So he's one of the good prospects as well, I think. Like, if I look at the rankings, I think I had him tied for 8th in terms of overall rankings for these blue chip prospects. The thing is, though, that's with him, he actually might be a bit of a project, though, because he's 2026 plus, so he might be like a 50 something. So that might have been a whiff of a pick by Pittsburgh. So we'll actually have to take a look at where they go and stuff like that afterwards. And we are definitely going to take Gary Hara. Let's sort by this. And Gary Hara, 21 years old, so he is a little bit older, but he will make the MLB by the time he's like 22, 23, I think. So Gary Hara, welcome to Detroit. And I'm going to have to also write down where all these other guys go in the first round, just because I'm kind of curious on where they go. So let's go back to this first round. So Rob Baxter, we know, went to Pittsburgh. I'm just going to type this stuff down on the side of like my doc, because I was making a little bit of a doc to kind of see who would go where. So yeah, Rob Baxter is headed to the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is not a surprise that he goes to a team like Pittsburgh that probably needs pitchers. And then Rene Maldonado went 3rd overall. Rene Maldonado was another one of those guys that I wasn't really sold on. He had like the worst average rating. He could be a lot better than that, but who knows? Maybe he's one of the worser ones of the two, or of the players. So he goes to Baltimore. And then Porter Uchida went. He was another one that I thought had a little bit of a lower overall as well. So I don't know if the computers are making big mistakes early or if I'm just doing this incorrectly. But he goes to Miami. And then we got Marcos Mora, who went to Texas. That was one of the better pitchers, I think. He was apparently better than Baxter, if I'm doing my analysis correct. And then Alan Light was pretty good, if I'm not mistaken. He went to Boston, but he was tied for 12th. Actually, he's not that good. He's a little bit worse than Uchida, but he is younger, so. And then Alec Polk, which is another one of those pitchers, he went to the Mariners. And then Taylor Farrell, who was another left fielder that was, I said that was as good as Gary Harris to an extent, but he isn't as good. He's a little bit too old by comparison. He's 2 years older, so he's not going to be as good as him probably, but you never know. I'm going to have to check on all these guys after the draft, just because I'm kind of curious on if I made the right choice, but I think I did. I could be wrong with that, though. So Farrell goes to Arizona. Pugh goes to the Oakland Athletics, who apparently want to move out of Oakland now, which is kind of interesting in real life. Sam Artura goes to the Cincinnati Reds. Okay. And then Batista goes to Washington. He's like the guy that I thought was the best overall in the draft. We'll find out if that is true. And then Vernon Asensio goes to the Cubs. He was the second best player in the draft based on my ratings. And then finally, Robert Jones and Charlie Farless. Robert Jones goes to the Brewers. And then Charlie Farless goes to Toronto. Okay, let me just check to make sure these other guys that I had pinned kind of to an extent didn't go yet. So did Joe Hendricks or Michael Castillo go, or any of those guys? Joe Hendricks went late in the first round. Yeah, I figured he would be a good first round pick. I was looking to maybe get this guy in the second round, but he looks like he is gone. So he goes to the Dodgers. I'm going to write that down as well, just because I'm kind of curious on where he, or how good he is. And then Castillo and Franco. Did those guys go? Because if not, we might have to go with one of the two of them. I hope I'm making the right choices, though, in this draft, because just watch, I'm picking all the worst players somehow. Castillo and Franco did not go, it looks like, so we should have a chance at both of them. Sort this. Castillo was a starting pitcher. Yeah, Michael Castillo, could be good. He's not fully scouted yet, but he could be really good based on my stuff. So I think I might take him, because we could use some starting pitchers. We are actually pretty balanced all around. And then let me take a look at Christian Franco again, who's the best relief pitcher, I think. Whether he's 20 years of age, he could still be good, but he could probably fall to the next round easily. So, yeah, I think I'm going to take that pitcher, Michael Castillo. Even though he's not fully scouted yet, he could end up being like a 70-something overall only and not good potential, but he is only 19, so maybe he could get better than that. So we're going to take Michael Castillo with our second round pick. I hope he's actually pretty good. And then let's just take a look and see if Franco went anywhere. So did Franco go? Because if Franco didn't go, oh yeah, there he goes to the Phillies. Got to keep note of that as well. And there he goes. So that's all the players I had pretty much pinned. Now I have to get into the ones that I didn't really want to get if they are still available. So we have our competitive round balance B pick. And let's see, who do we have scouted a lot? There is still Eloy Sosa, but he doesn't have as much potential, and he's more of a project. The guys I had pinned, though, were David Jordan, who's a starting pitcher. Is David Jordan still there? Yeah, he is. We might go with David Jordan, but he might not be that good. I don't know. Rick Stewart is halfway scouted. Is Rick Stewart still there? Rick Stewart is, but he is 21. He is a little bit older than David Jordan. We also have catcher prospect Corey Hirsch, who I don't really, or not Corey Hirsch, that's a former hockey player, Chad Hirsch. He could be good, but I don't know for sure, so he might be like a late pick if we are to actually pick him. And then there was some right fielding prospects that I scouted that have probably high overalls but low potentials, I would assume. Yeah, Henry Bright I think has a high overall but a low potential. but I could be wrong with that. And then Veras, yeah, George Veras, is he there? Yeah, he is. He could be a bit of a project, probably, of a player, and same with Guadalupe Morales, who looks like he already went in the draft. So I think we're just going to go with one of those other starting pitchers and continue adding players to our pitching bullpen to an extent. And I think we're going to go with David Jordan since he's been the most scouted. And I don't trust Rick Stewart still, so David Jordan's our next pick. And now we're on to the third round. I could go with that catcher, but I don't know if I will. Rick Stewart is still available, but do we need to keep adding starting pitchers? I don't know. I mean, that might be the best option for us in the draft. There is a second baseman that does not have good potential, unfortunately. Let me actually sort this by ETA. His Stila might be 2023. He might be a little bit of an older player that comes in at like a 75, but he could maybe still be like a good option. But he probably would go later in the draft. Like, he might have a really high overall, but he's going to be older in the draft, which is not great. Anybody else intriguing? 2023, and he's 19. I don't think that's going to be accurate. I mean, I could take the chance on him. You know what? I'm going to take the chance on this guy. Even though he might be only a 75 potential, I'm going to take the chance on an 18-year-old second baseman. Might as well, because I don't really know what else to do with the rest of our picks. So, okay, what do we got next? There is still like a Steela guy that's a bit older that probably is almost MLB ready. But the thing is, he's 23. That's the only thing I don't really like about Castilla. Because Castilla, like, even though he's 23, he's going to be like MLB ready when he's like 24 probably. And then he's going to end up retiring within the first like 10 years of his MLB, not contract, but MLB career. George Veras is only 18, which is kind of intriguing, and we could use maybe some more right fielders. He could also play center field and left field, which also could help us out a little bit. So, yeah, I think I'm going to take the chance on George Veras, even if he is a low overall and he's a project. Might as well take another fielder, even though he's not going to be nowhere near as good as our first pick, probably. And then if we sort this again by ETA, actually we should sort by scouted. The most scouted is CU, but he's not good. 80 potential, maybe. Another starting pitcher in Boone Mortensen. I don't really know anything about some of these guys, though. I think I might go with the catcher because we're late in the draft and I still need a catcher prospect, probably. So yeah, let's just take a risk with Chad Hirsch. He's probably not going to be that good. Like, I feel like some of these late round picks are probably going to be not that good, but as long as we get some good prospects in, it should be fine. And then our final pick of the draft, I think. Do I go with Luis Gutierrez? He might be a bit of a project. There's also Hilton, who's more of a project. Zavala? Yeah, this rest of this draft doesn't look that good. I might just take a chance and take Gutierrez. Yeah, let's take Luis Gutierrez. A lot of fielding prospects, but at least he could help us out defensively if they are good. Okay, so that is the draft. Now comes the time where we find out if we actually made the right choice or not. So, let's see what we got here in this draft. And we got a 69 overall, so that's a really good start. And he's got 8 potential. Oh my god, what a pick. Gary Harris. Yeah, I might have actually figured out a good way of drafting players, like at least the blue chip ones, because you basically just add all the blue overalls that they have, and since they're fully scouted, you just find like an average of what they are. Right now, he's already pretty much almost MLB ready, and he's 21, and yeah, he looks really good. So let's get into these picks. So 95 potential. His overall actually is dropping apparently, but he's got 95 potential, which is really, really good. His contact already is not great. He needs to work on his hitting pretty much right now. So that will probably be what he does while he gets ready to be an MLB player. His vision's okay, I guess. His discipline, yeah, he does need some work on some of his stuff, but his fielding and his durability, his like speed, stealing, his stealing's already an 82. So yeah, he's going to be a very fast player, and I'm very excited to see what Gary Harris could do for this team in the next few years and whatnot when he gets to the MLB. Next was Michael Castillo, who's a 66 at 19 years of age. He's got only 77 potential, but he might be still a good, like, kind of, if we can make him maybe into a relief pitcher. I don't know if that's the case, but he's got good stamina. His hits per 9 is pretty solid. His Ks in 9 is not great. His home runs in 9 is okay, and his base on balls is really good, I think. His velocity is also pretty good, so yeah, that's not a bad pick. He's got a 95-mile-an-hour four-seamer, which is pretty crazy. So we are going to sign Michael Castillo. David Jordan's got 90 potential, and he's a 69 overall. Wow, a lot better than I expected. That's a huge steal. I mean, he's only got 3 different pitch types, but this guy is really, really good. Like, his weakness, I would say at the moment, is his pitch clutch. I think that's what PCLT is. And then his control's not great. And then he's not a good, like, in terms of fielding, but this is a really good pick. I don't even know how that guy fell to the... was that the second round or third round? Or did we get that guy with our competitive round ballast pick or something? That's a big pick. Jonathan Johnson's not great. He's got 69 potential. He's 67 overall already, which is pretty good. So he could probably play in, like, single A or double A. But he's not going to be an MLB player, probably. He does have really good contact against left-handed pitchers, though, which is nice. We're still going to sign him anyways. And then Veras says 75 potential. He's 57, so he is a bit of a project like I thought he would be. I still am going to sign him, though. And Hirsch has 84 potential, so actually a lot better than I expected. And 65 overall. That's actually a pretty good pick for that late in the draft as well. And yeah, he might be one of our number 1 catchers in the future, because maybe we don't need like a 90+ catcher. Maybe we just need like an 84. He is already 21, so hopefully he develops. And then Luis Gutierrez is not good. 47 overall. He was a random shot in the dark, and he only has 68 potential at 20. I'm not going to sign Luis Gutierrez, though. Yeah, I'm not going to sign him. But, man, that was a good draft. Gary O'Hara... Castillo is okay, I would say, since he has a high starting overall. And then David Jordan's a massive steal. Jonathan Johnson's not great. And then Veras is okay, but he's not great either. He's only 18, so... And then Chad Hirsch is a very good steal as well. So we had a really good draft. Now comes the fun part where we actually look at those other teams and see how good those other picks were. So we're going to start off with whoever's next, which Kansas City didn't draft one of those guys. Minnesota didn't. I don't think. I'm trying to figure out which one's drafted. Houston didn't. The Angels didn't. Oakland did. So Gerald Pugh, 91 potential. He was one of the top picks in the draft, 65 overall. So he is a pretty good starting pitcher prospect for Oakland. We could have taken him always, but we drafted Chauncey McElroy last year, and Chauncey was actually better than this guy is. So I think I am okay with taking that left fielder prospect, considering the potential is better on our prospects. So there's Gerald Pugh. And then who else do we got next? Seattle, I think, drafted somebody. Yeah, they got Alec Polk, 96 potential, but he's only a 60 overall at 21. So this guy's a bit of a project for Seattle, but still a pretty good pick, I would say, if he develops into being that good player, because he has some low attributes. Like his hits 9 and base on balls 9 is not great. So he definitely needs to work on that. But this guy does have a 5-pitch repertoire, so that's kind of interesting. So interesting pick there for Seattle. Then Texas got Marcos Mora. Yep, 91 potential, 56 overall. So he's a bit of a project at 19. But he could still develop into being something pretty decent. And he also has a 5-pitch repertoire. So interesting pick for Texas. And then Atlanta, I don't think had one. No, Atlanta didn't. Miami had Porter Uchida, who has 97 potential. So he has probably the best potential in the draft, but he is a 58 at 23. So he's not going to develop into being that A-plus player probably unless he gets into the MLB at like 30 years old. Yeah, that's not a great pick for Miami. Like, it does have good potential, but they did whiff on it. And then they also took Walker Vargas, who's also 23, but he's only 49 overall. So they did draft guys with good potential, but they have very low overalls, so they're going to be very tough to actually get to that potential. And then we have, who's next? Didn't the Phillies draft somebody? No. Oh, wait, no, Christian Franco was somebody I was looking at. Christian Franco was like the guy I was looking at in the second round. I think he has only 77 potential and 58, so I'm glad I did not take this guy. I mean, he does have some good hits in 9, and Ks in 9 is okay. But, yeah, he does not look like he's going to probably be an MLB player. He might. He's only 20, so he does have the opportunity to. Washington took Daniel Batista, who's the closing pitcher I was mentioning. He does have the highest overall so far out of all the players in the first round, which is what I was expecting, at a 71 overall and 91 potential. So, yeah, this guy is a very good closing pitcher for the future for Washington. Obviously, his potential isn't as high as some of our players that we drafted, but he is going to be a player that makes the MLB probably at like 19 or 20 years old, which is pretty crazy. So, good pick for Washington. And then the Cubs took Vernon Ascenso. Yep, that's right. 91 overall, or 91, not 91 overall. That would be nuts. 91 potential, 67 overall. So another good pick for the Cubs. He's only 19, so yeah, he definitely could make it at some point. I did have him as one of the best players in the draft. I had basically Batista, him, and Gary Hara as the top 3 players, and that might actually be the case. So he doesn't have as high of a potential as Gary Hara, but he does have a high overall, which is good for the Cubs. The Reds got Sam Arturo, who's 94 potential and 66 overall, so this is another good pick for the Reds. Interesting. 4-pitch repertoire for a closer, that's decent as well. So yeah, that's a good pick for them. Robert Jones is another one, 93 potential, but he does have a low overall. I did have him as the 5th best player in the draft, but he is only a 59, which is a little bit risky. So there is his attributes. So decent pick for Milwaukee, but he is going to be a bit of a project to an extent, being at 20 years old already. Like, he definitely could reach that 93, but he's going to be like 24, 25 maybe by the time he reaches that, I think. Who is next? That's us now, right? No, that's not us. Why am I saying us is Pittsburgh? Did Pittsburgh have any of these guys? Oh, yeah, they took Rob Baxter first overall. Yeah, that's right. 99 potential, so he's got the best potential in the draft, but he's only a 62 at 20. So, I mean, it's a very good pick to have 99 potential and only be 20 years old. But to be a 62 out of the draft, I mean, at 20... he's going to be a bit of a project, but he could end up being one of the best pitchers in this franchise mode series. So that's a good pick for Pittsburgh. And then, did I say St. Louis in every one of these? I don't think so. No, I did not. Taylor Farrell was another left fielder, 67 overall, 92 potential. So he is worse than our left fielder in Gary Hara, but he is a little bit older and worse potential-wise, so that's still a decent pick, though. The guy being only 23, though, he's probably not going to make the MLB till he's like 25, 26, so a little bit of a project for Arizona, but still a decent pick, I would say. And then the Dodgers getting Hendricks in the second round, or at the end of the first round, actually, right? Yeah, it was like 30th, I think. I was looking at getting this guy in the second round. Glad I didn't, because he only has 79 potential, but he is a 62 at 21, so he could end up being an okay center fielding prospect for the Dodgers. And then I think that might be it, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look and make sure we got all those guys. Oh no, Rene Maldonado, he went 3rd overall, I think, 59 overall at 19 and 92 potential. So he is going to be a bit of a project, as I was expecting, but he does have good potential, so he could potentially become a pretty good second baseman for Baltimore. And then I think that was almost it. Alan Light is another one of them. Shortstops, 92 potential, 58 overall, so another bit of a project, but he is only 19, so could develop into being that player. And then I think that was it. Just got to make sure. Oh, yeah, Charlie Francis as well, too. Toronto, 59 overall at 19, 94 potential. So a lot of guys have good potential. It's just their overalls are not good by comparison to ours, I think. Yeah, I think we got one of the best players in the draft, for sure. Yeah, I'm very excited to see how Gary Hara develops. Going to be a very good prospect for us. And then also this Jordan pick is insane. This guy's massively tall too, 6'5", 231. Interesting. Okay, so I think that is all we're going to do in this episode, is just do that draft. And then you guys could let me know some suggestions if we want to make trades. But yeah, I think our team is coming along in terms of our prospect pool, because now we have some multiple good starting pitcher prospects. I did move Chauncey McElroy down to AA just because he was not playing good in triple. I want to get him as good as possible. But yeah, we do have some good starting pitcher prospects. We could probably start to use more relievers to an extent. So we are maybe going to have to look at some relief pitchers in the future drafts, I would say. Closing pitcher-wise, we still have Diego Corona, who's our best prospect. So we do have a closer that could end up making it to the MLB at some point. And in catcher-wise, we do have a new catcher prospect that we drafted, has 84 potential, so that's pretty decent. And yeah, we're adding up some prospects in first base. We do have some on second base in Bruhan. Yeah, I think we have like prospects in almost every single area, except for third base. I don't think we have really any. Yeah, we don't really have a third base prospect. And then shortstop wise, we could definitely use some shortstop prospects for the future, as unless Garcia ends up being really good, which he could end up being. And then we drafted this to left fielder, center fielder, and wise. We could probably use some prospects, but we do got some good guys already. And there's right fielding. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Detroit Tigers franchise mode. So in next episode, we will probably make some trades if you guys think they are necessary to help with our rebuild for our team. And we'll probably sim the rest of the season in next episode already. And then we'll do the offseason the following episode. And then we'll get back to the draft again. Because if we could fly through these first like 5 or 6 seasons, then we're going to end up getting to the time when we're actually going to be a good team. So let me know what you guys think down below. And I'll see you guys next time.